Hi, Jeana here. I'm a transformational life coach, and I'm here to talk with you about Chapter 5 of The Big Leap. The Big Leap is a book about the upper limits and how you get there. We've gone through 1 through 4 already, and I shared in Chapter 4. I didn't really care for the chapter much. I used human design to find my zone of genius. So this book chapter is about, once you know your zone of genius, how to live in the zone of genius. So Dr. Hendricks suggests in this one that basically he has you go through and look at this internal guidance system that you have. And he says, once you found your zone of genius, you know this internal guidance system's there and you're going to actually just know what it is. And he talks about it. He uses mantras, whatever you want to call those. And then he does breath work with it. I did not find this chapter to be the least bit helpful for me to understand how to stay connected to my zone of genius. It wasn't one that worked for me. The mantras didn't work. The breath work didn't work. If they work for you, then you should go read this chapter and use that because it will help you a great deal. It just didn't work for me to do that. So I want to tell you how I learned to stay in my zone of genius. Is that I went back and imagined and remembered, a time when I knew I was in my zone of genius. I knew I was there. Once I understood what my zone of genius was, which I did through human design and some work, I found that I knew when I had been there. I knew all about it and I knew how it worked. And so I went to that place and I went into my memory banks and I just closed my eyes and looked at it. I just looked at it like it was a movie, or I looked at it as a memory that came into me. However you feel it, whether you sense it, or you imagine it, or you see it, or you hear it, or you can go touch it. You can go pick something up and touch it and say, this is something that takes me back to my zone of genius when I was there. So for me, I go back to that spot of that time when I know I was in my zone of genius, and I just ask the creator of all that is, and I say, creator of all it is, just please help me remember what this feels like right now. And I just literally sit in the moment to feel it. I just feel it. And I feel it and I feel it. So my zone of genius that I experienced, that I go back to, was a time when I went to work with a high school. And I was out to help them do some work on putting in some dual credit processes. And when I went there, the concept came up about a necessary need that they had in this community. And all of a sudden, I had this vision and this knowing and this understanding of what to do to bring this to life. That a college campus could be right there in that community. I knew how to put it together. I knew the steps. I knew what to do. I could connect every component of it. I totally got it. Then I knew how to connect the dots between the pieces to bring together something that didn't exist at all into a complete physical experience. I knew about how long it would take, and I could just see it and feel it. And every time I go back, I close my eyes. I remember being able to feel that experience of how it felt, and I would go back to it. So for the year after that experience, I would go sit in that, and nothing could take me away from that process. So if something was going to stop that process from happening, of having a college campus happen in this community, that was a good 40 minutes drive from any other college campus. Anything that took me away from that, I said no to. And I said yes to anything that it would help build it, anything that would help enhance it, anything that would help grow it, anything that would help partner with it, building partnerships and to connecting all the pieces. So I go back to that, even to this day, and I remember that zone of genius. It's connecting the dots between all the pieces to put them together. That's what I do. That's my zone of genius. I connect dots between pieces that make things that didn't look like they made any sense at all come all into this beautiful component and this beautiful process. So that's how I do it, and I just ask to stop and remember it, and every time I need to, I say, I want to go back to that spot of how that felt, the feeling inside of me, and how it feels to feel that way, and keep going back to it and remind myself that that's what it feels like. And when I get there and I have an experience that does that, I all at once have this knowingness that I'm back in my zone of genius. So I ask to remember it and then take myself back there fairly often to get there. That's my way of doing it. His way didn't work for me. Mantras didn't work. Affirmations didn't work. Breath work didn't work. So it was that. So I just remember this ultimate vision of it. So now what he did on step 2 was that he asked you to be able to say no when something's going to prevent you from getting to your zone of genius. So for me, if I had something that I needed to work on that wasn't going to enhance the partnerships and the community building and the community building that of people coming together, when I went out there, that I shouldn't go work on it. I didn't need to go work on a food drive out there, and I didn't need to go work on something else. I needed to work on how could I enhance bringing facilities for these people to have these wonderful college experiences that didn't exist in their community. And every time I got the chance to go and build that at one of their school meetings, or every time I went in to have that opportunity at my campus to pull that partnership together, whatever I could do, I did. And I said no to the things that wouldn't help me get to that direction. So the good stuff makes you go, inside, and the stuff that's going to keep you from getting in your zone of genius are going to make you feel yuck inside. So he really recommends that you do it. I'm also going to say that once you found your zone of genius, you should go back and review it, because you're going to find that you're going to evolve with it, and it's going to evolve with you, and that you're going to grow. That what was your zone of genius may become your zone of excellence, and you may have a whole new up-leveling of zone of genius. He doesn't talk about that much, but I think you'll find that as you go in life, that you have some skill sets that grow as you go when you do that. Also, the other thing that you need to remember is that ego will try to stop you from getting to your zone of genius. Ego says, oh, that's scary. Oh, we can't do that. Oh, that's really fearful. Why would you want to do that? Who do you think you are? I mean, can you imagine how scared I was to think, who did I think I was, this just director of some little program, that all of a sudden I'm thinking like I can go facilitate a college to put a whole new campus into a community. But I did. And I did it in a year, and we got accreditation from the accreditation department, from the U.S. Department of Education. Within that year, all of it came together, and all of it did it because I was in my zone of genius, and I was able to do it and to work it because I can connect the dots. Connecting the dots to contribute to society is what I do best. And I do that when I'm working with clients, or when I'm working with groups, or whether I'm working with a community. So don't let your ego keep you afraid of doing it. So I want you to stop and remember the greatest feeling you ever had, and how it felt and how you experienced it, whether it was in work, whether it was in education, when you were getting your training, whether it was in an experience of something you do, whatever it may be in, go feel that feeling of knowing that is where you are your best. Remember it. Go back to it often and try to keep yourself grounded in it and stay in that spot. And when you have spots that take you out of it, no, that's not the direction for you to go. So that's chapter 5. His chapter wasn't really helpful for me. I hope what I've shared with you will be. We'll see you on chapter 6. Thanks.